Today, our topic is the upside of Destiny's death. Is it done? Is the intro done? I know what you're thinking. You're probably seeing a lot of people just leaving Destiny 2 right now, and there is a good reason for people who have played the game for many years to leave the game, and I completely understand why they do it. I have personally done it myself.
No Destiny 3, but check this out.
When you see a company like Bungie fire so many employees and pretty much just say, yeah, there's no future to Destiny, you're just gonna quit, because what's there to wait when there's nothing coming? But I'm very optimistic. I like to see the positive things before I go to the negatives, which is the reason I think this is the best time to get into Destiny 2 right now. Let me explain. When I played the game during Witch Queen, I was like 16 or 17 years old, without any money, and when the new DLC came out,
fuck that shit, bro,
I just quit because I couldn't play the game anymore, and I hated being late to all the meta weapons that worked the season before. So I just didn't feel like playing the game. But now, there is no future content, which means it's perfect. Now I know what you're thinking. It's still an MMO. It's got a fuck ton of expansions. So how much money would you actually have to spend? Well, that's a great question. According to my math and looking at a lot of third-party websites, you would have to spend around $120/$170. Or for me, 100 or 150 euros, because, you know, I got that Monopoly money. What does that mean? Where does all that add up from? Well, what do you mean $170? Well, that includes all of the expansions, which means Forsaken DLC. It's not the story DLC, but it's the Forsaken Weapons DLC. Shadowkeep DLC. Then you need the 30th Anniversary DLC. Then you want Beyond Light DLC. Then you want Witch Queen DLC, Lightfall DLC, and then you have the Final Shape DLC. Already these together, it's a little over $70 to $80, depending on where you buy them, okay? You can get them for the same price as like a AAA video game, which is pretty good. But then you have to spend a little bit more money on things like dungeon keys. Now, you don't really need the dungeon keys if you don't care for the dungeons. But if you want to do all the content, you want to be able to do all the dungeons, you have to buy them. Now, you can't actually buy the dungeon keys from like a third-party website because they're locked behind a 2,000 silver paywall. The silver is a currency in the game that you can pay for with real money, and that means about 20 per dungeon. Now, I'm not exactly sure how many of these dungeons are there. I think there's one for Witch Queen, one for Lightfall, and one for the Final Shape, I think. So that's another 60 euros for me. I don't know how many dollars it is, but it might be like $70 for you guys. So that's where the money adds up from. It's in the range of those things. Now, it kind of varies between where you buy them and, you know, what country you're in. Are you in Europe? Are you in the USA? Is it a global key you're buying? Is it a Russian key? Whatever the fuck you're buying, it depends all on that. Now, if you're going into PvP, even though the game is made by the same people who made Halo.
Birmingham, if you want the fucking brawl, come down, Smethwick, ask for Danny G, I'll come out now.
Remember, Destiny 2 is not a PvP game. Yes, it has Crucible. Yes, you can kill other players. Does this mean it's very balanced between all players? Fuck no. If you go into the Crucible, day one of you playing, you might get a couple kills, until the game queues you up with a person who can actually play the game, has been playing it for years, has like 15,000 Triumph rank, has the best weapons when it comes to meta in the PvP. Yes, there is a meta. And all the weapons you get in the game, they're from activities, raids, dungeons, or then sometimes you just have to pray to God that they'll be in the Xur's inventory the next weekend. But yeah, Do not go into the game thinking this game is a PvP game. That means I'm gonna love it. No, it is not your typical PvP game. You have more aim assist than a fucking child playing Call of Duty. There's so much ability spam now in Crucible, it's insane. And the weapons you use in the Crucible, they are locked behind a fuck ton of hours in grinding in the PvE elements. Now, let's talk about the story. You might be thinking, there's so many expansions. That's so much story, right? It must be pretty good because they've made so much of it, right? Best story they have in the game left is the last DLC, which is the final shape. Then they have Lightfall, which sucks giant donkey dick. Witch Queen's pretty good. Beyond Light is boring as watching paint dry. Shadowkeep is really forgettable and hard to keep up with. And Forsaken DLC is just a mini version of what the story used to be, which is the Dreaming City part of it. You could get away with just buying the latest DLC and the dungeon passes for that, and you'd be set. And you'd probably save yourself like $100 or 100 euros. But if you really want to experience Destiny in a whole, you're gonna have to buy all the DLCs. And I know that's a lot of money, but that's just Destiny. And it's an MMO game. Imagine going into an MMO game after like 15 years, because that's pretty much what you're doing. Except this one's only been out for like, what, 9 years? 8 years? Meta in Destiny is one of the most crucial points on doing endgame content, doing LFGs, which we'll talk about in a minute, and being able to do builds that are worth using. Now, if I was a nice person, I would say, use whatever build you want, but because I've played this game so much, I can't say that without puking. Knowing the meta in Destiny is not really a requirement, unless you play with an LFG group full of people with 100+ clears in a dungeon or raid that you're doing. Now, we've all had this happen, okay? We've gone to Destiny 2 LFG, and there's always been that one guy who's like,
oh my god, you only have 1.7 million damage when you do 5.9 million with prismatic subclass, and the best gear that you get from the latest dungeon/raid. Oh my god, you don't have the fucking latest DLC. What the fuck are you doing in here?
yeah. Then you get kicked. Which is, you know, it's kind of a good thing. It's a good thing that you got kicked, because that is not what LFG is 100% of the time. Now, if you had to play it with people like this, you probably want to quit day one. But thankfully, most of the people on Destiny 2 LFG servers are really chill and fun to play with.
Oh, thank you so much for helping me with this.
No work, man.
I very much appreciate it.
So if you get a shit game as your first LFG, just remember that that's just one part of LFGing and finding new people to play with. Now let's talk about the end game. Now I have not played the end game in this game for a very long time, but in a nutshell, it's just basically big dicking it in raids, doing solo dungeons, triumph hunting, fashion, aka waiting for the season to end so that you can equip the next ornament that looks slick as fuck in the season. That's basically what the end game is of Destiny. Now I know you might be thinking, that doesn't sound like a lot, but there's also Nightfalls, you can do Crucible, and when I said triumph hunting, those are two very small words that mean a fuck ton of content. Triumph hunting means you're gonna have to do dungeons, you're gonna have to do raids, you're gonna have to play Crucible, you're gonna have to play Vanguard, you're gonna have to do Grandmaster Nightfalls over and over and over again. That's what you gotta do. It's gonna take a fuck ton of time, and you're gonna hate yourself for doing it. Now, we've come to the end of the video, and you have questions like, is this all worth it? Well, like in every MMO game, after playing for many thousands of hours, I think everyone asks that question of themselves. When it comes to real life, no, these games are not worth it. You spend a lot of time doing fictional things that have no actual value and meaning in real life, unless you're a content creator and you're trying to capitalize on the fact that people watch your videos. That's different. All I'm just gonna say is I've had some of the best times in gaming while playing Destiny. Doing dungeons, laughing with friends while we fuck up the dungeon, trolling each other by pushing each other off the edge and in the tower. You make a lot of friends playing this game. I know it's not really real. You don't actually make that many friends in this game, but you like to think that because it takes away the void of loneliness that you get from playing MMOs in a nutshell.
This concludes our Destiny 2 nature documentary. Now you might be thinking to yourself, why did I just watch a 10-minute video about a guy ranting about a video game?
I like to stream my hot gaming moments or other shit in Twitch. Come check.
Boy mate.
Don't forget to check out my awesome Discord where we come together as a community.
I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with you.